as a beacon of hope for our nation. Rest in peace, General Ogolla.
The military marked the end of General Francis Ogola's legacy at his Ngia home in the county of Siaya. Elvis Kosgei, KTN News.
Now let's look back a little bit to the history, and Kenya has had 11 heads of the military since independence, from Major General Robert Penfold to General Francis Ogola, who passed away on Thursday. Retired General Daudi Tonje, who served from 1996 to 2000, is one of the most iconic military chiefs due to his performance in the military, among them the succession structure overseen by the National Security Council. Here's the history of Kenya's military bosses since independence.
Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya na Amiri Jeshi Mkuu, majeshi yote ya ulinzi.
Chief of Defense Forces, abbreviated as CDF, is the highest rank one can attain while serving in the Kenyan military. The CDF is the head of the military, which is made up of 3 wings: the Kenya Army, the Kenya Air Force, and the Kenya Navy. The Kenyan military has been headed by 11 men since the country gained independence. The first was Major General Robert Bernard Penfold, who was appointed by the founding President Jomo Kenyatta. Major General Penfold from the Kenya Army served from November 1966 to May 1969. In June 1969, Major General Joseph Musimi Ndolo was appointed Kenya's second military chief, succeeding Major General Penfold. Major General Joseph Ndolo became the first African to head the Kenyan military. His reign lasted for only 2 years, as it came to an abrupt end following the 1971 coup attempt. Major Ndolo was succeeded by Major General Jackson Mulinge, who was the first to hold the position of Chief of General Staff and served the longest between 1971 and 1986. Major General was Kenya's first 4-star general. Mulinge was succeeded by General retired Mahmoud Mohammed, who served as the Chief of General Staff for 10 years, from 1986 to 1996. General Mohammed is remembered for his role in neutralizing the 1982 attempted coup when he was the Deputy Army Commander. In 1996, Kenya's second president, the late Daniel Arap Moi, appointed the retired General Daudi Tonje to replace Mohamud as the Chief of General Staff. Tonje is one of the most iconic and most celebrated holders of the office, owing to his push for reforms. Some of the reforms include the establishment of the Defense Staff College and the Kenya Defense Force Medical Insurance Scheme. He also pushed for change that would see cadets at the Armed Forces Training College, now referred to as the Kenya Military Academy, attain university education, leading to a degree in military science. Daudi Tonje was succeeded by retired General Joseph Kibwana in 2000 and held the position until 2005. General Kibwana became the first Navy officer to occupy the office of the Chief of General Staff. He oversaw a smooth transition of power in 2002 when the late President Moi handed over power to Mwai Kibaki. In 2005, General Jeremiah Kinga from the Kenya Army was promoted and appointed Chief of the General Staff by President Mwai Kibaki, taking over from retired Joseph Kibwana. He served from 2005 to 2011 when he handed over the mantle to General Julius Karangi from the Kenya Navy. Consequently, General Karangi became the first officer to hold the new position of Chief of Defense Forces, as provided for under the 2010 Constitution. He is also the general who led the Kenyan troops to war in Somalia under the operation code named Linda Nchi in October 2011. General Karangi was in 2015 succeeded by General Samson Mwatete of the Kenya Navy. 5 years later, in 2020, President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed General Robert Kibochi as the new military boss. Kibochi attained retirement age in 2023 and he was replaced by the late General Francis Ogolla from the Kenya Air Force. Having served just close to a year, Ogola is Kenya's shortest serving military chief and the first to die in office. Lieutenant General Charles Kahariri from the Kenya Navy, who was named the new Vice Chief of Defence Forces on March 8th, is likely to be Kenya's new military boss, going by General Tonje's rules, which provide for rotation of the post between the Kenya Air Force, Kenya Navy and Kenya Army.
Not only did Kenya mourn, but the entire East Africa community and the world at large. Let's now take a look at the farewell of the Chief of Defence Forces, the late General Francis Ogola, in pictures. Now, of course, President William Ruto declared 3 days of mourning in honor of the late general, starting, of course, Friday and until his send-off just yesterday. There's a recap of how the send-off unfolded yesterday for those who probably missed out. But, of course, the entire nation has been weighing on this conversation, standing with the family, friends, and those who worked with the late general and the other 9 gallant soldiers. Let me appreciate the panelists in studio, and even as they give, their thoughts on the front pages of the newspapers this morning, most of them are just highlighting, of course, the end of a journey. I appreciate Dr. Ekuru Aukot, who is the party leader, Third Way Alliance. Welcome to the show. It's a few days shy to the end of the month. How's it going?
Sad state of affairs for the country. To lose CDF and, of course, the soldiers that perished because of insecurity up north. Something that, honestly, we have entertained this insecurity for decades and decades, even when there are clear rumors that, not really rumors, information that some of these banditry attacks, insecurity in the north is actually politicized, and the people drumming up politics around this issue are known in this country. Some of us who come from that part of Kenya have reported, including a suspicion of what kind of leaders actually keep on funding this insecurity. And of course, this insecurity related to a number of things, just theft of property, which people call cattle. Even our own law actually does not recognize that this is really a serious crime called robbery with violence. They choose to call it cattle rustling. There is no such thing as cattle rustling in our law books, because Article 40 of the Constitution of Kenya protects any property that anybody owns, including my cow, my goat, my shirt, my pen here, whatever. This is my property. When you take it violently, you're actually robbing me, and the penalty in law is that you die by the neck until you die. So there's been a little bit of casualness in handling the insecurity in the north, and now you can see the implication of that, of what that means, that we lose very senior military officers. And by the way, just a critique on you people on the media, I think you should be sensitive to other families. Right. I see a lot of Francis Ogolla this, but you see, we are forgetting the soldiers that died with Ogolla are not others. There is Sawe, Lieutenant Colonel Sawe, there is Major General Magondu, there is Captain Sora Mohammed, right. There is Captain Hilary Litali, there is Senior Sergeant John Kenywa, right. There is Sergeant Omondi, there is Sergeant Rose Nyawira, and there is Brigadier Swale Said. So let's not just call them the others. They are also deaths, and they died all in the line of duty. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't discuss about the death of Francis Ogola, but I think the way we are giving prominence to his death as if the others are not very important, I find that a bit insensitive, the way the media is reporting it, because I think it's hurtful to the other families.
Thank you very much for your opening remarks and this challenge set forth. Let's hear from Dr. Makali Mulu, who is a member of Parliament, Kitui Central.
Yes.
What are your opening remarks this far? It was just as we're looking at the front pages of each paper, in fact, most of them capturing the burial ceremony and last journey of the late CDF.
Yeah, I think let me join my colleague, Dr. Kuru, in saying that the week has been really a bad week for Kenyans, having lost our Chief of Defense Forces and the other senior officers. And also what makes it even worse, you've seen also the rains are causing havoc all over the place.
Right.
It's a lot of flooding, people have been displaced, we've lost lives also. But all said and done, I think we all, from the reporting, we can see General Ogolla was a very private person. But I think in death, he has become very public. You've given him a lot of publicity all over the place.
Wasn't his position serving the public? Dr.
But even when he was in office, he held the same position, and he wanted these things to be private. And that's why I think the burial was very simple, in line with his wishes. So if you wanted to be that private, then, but you see what has been happening since he passed on. I don't think even some of our former presidents got that kind of publicity, but we understand this is a very senior position in this country. It takes a lot of time, a lot of experience, a lot of efforts for somebody to ascend to that position. So we appreciate what the media has done in terms of trying to educate Kenyans on who Ogolla was, what good things he did. And for me, I think one of the things just stood out as I watched, because I've also been following up this debate.
Yes.
One of the things which stood out, and I think which is good for this country, and some of us who are head of families, we need to learn from. He seems to have been a very serious family person. If you look at even the way his children are able to it's like he had prepared the family for his death. And I think that's something we hardly do as individuals. You just want one day to fall dead. Nobody knows what your thoughts are about how to be buried, or what you want your kids to be after you are dead. But when I watched this, I just said, having been a military person, is that like he knew any day he could die in the line of duty. And that means, I think that's why he even took time to prepare the kids, prepare the wife, and even say in case I die. But majority of us never think of death. If you suddenly think about death, people will think, are you mad? You think about death and you are alive. So I think we've picked a number of lessons. But what is important, and I think what is important is what Dr. is talking about, the issue of insecurity in this country. If you look at this constitution, which is on the table here,
yes,
it says one of the cardinal responsibilities of any government is to provide security to our people. And I think, leave alone the North Rift, if you look at this country, just Kenya as a country, you realize we are very serious in spots of insecurity all over the country. And I think the government needs to sit and think hard on how do we address this matter. It's unfortunate. A Kenya Defense Forces general is killed in the country and not outside the country. If he died in a mission in Rwanda, in a mission in Somalia, we would understand. This is a general dying in our own country, and is a Defense Forces general. It's not the inspector of police. It's the Defense Forces general. So this matter, I think as a country seriously need to think through it. I like the commitment from the head of state that investigations will be done and the truth will come out openly. It will be made public. Indeed. So that everybody knows what happened. But even as we know what happens, we still need to think hard about how come a general would die inside the country and not externally. Because normally people would imagine a general would die out there because normally the defense forces are for external purposes, not for
or in a state
purposes.
of war.
Or in a state of war.
All right.
But you know, this is just a normal inspecting projects, and then all of a sudden, because it also sends very wrong signals in terms of the kind of equipment our people are using, the army guys and the air force.
And you know, Doris, just before, I just want to ride on a point that Dr. has made here, which is very important, and it's not being brought out very clearly. General Ogolla died because of an internal security issue, which is really not
the probe is ongoing, you know.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me just make the point. He died because of an internal security issue, which is not a preserve of the Kenya Defense Forces. This is a preserve of the Kenya Police. In the Constitution, it's very clear from Article 239, 240. I mean, basically chapter 14, national security. There is a clear definition of whose responsibility it is, for example, to defend external aggression, the borders. But you see, here we are saying there is a failure on the part of the people in charge of internal security. To the extent now we are removing our generals, our soldiers from the barracks where they should be planning about how to defend Kenya, to now go and attend to matters internal, which is really not their responsibility. And this has led to a question that is being asked.
All right.
And I hope it comes out in the probe, that where was the Minister for Interior? Why didn't the Minister for Interior accompany Professor Ogolla? If it was a matter of military, where was the CS for defense? You know, where was the PS? Where was the, the people who actually ideally could be associated with his line of duty? How come all those people were actually missing in this trip? And this is a question people are asking on social media, and I really hope that there will be clarity on this. But the fundamental point I wanted to raise is, now, if our soldiers were supposed to defend external aggression, Kenya in a at war, now get involved in matters internal, then are we saying that the policing, the National Police Service, is actually failing? Because that's a very critical question. And for some of us who have opposed some of the policy decisions from the government, where, for example, we are saying that let's send 1,000 police officers to Haiti to try and restore order, law and order in that country, gang-ravaged country. But look, our own general are saying, in this part of Kenya, this part of northern Kenya, there is serious insecurity. Schools have been closed. Where was the Minister for Education? Why didn't the Minister for Education, Machogu, accompany General Ogolla to go and inspect those schools? I even think we're actually reducing our generals into mundane issues that honestly ought to be the responsibility of departments within the ministries. I don't think this is the work of General Ogolla, and this is why to some extent people are now suspicious about the whole thing. I mean, I know. I mean, it's insensitive to say it, but people are bitter. People are saying, no, why would a whole general, be going to inspect schools? You know?
And in that regard, allow me to just give the voice of authority in this matter, the voice of His Excellency, Dr. William Ruto, when he spoke earlier on in as far as the investigations and if and how and when they'll be made public. And President William Ruto has reiterated his confidence in the aircraft accident investigation team, saying it will undo the doubts surrounding the deaths of the Chief of Defense Forces, General Francis Ogolla. Speaking during Ogola's burial service in Ng'ia, Siaya County, the head of state said the country is poorer without Ogolla, and given an opportunity, he would still have him steer the defense forces. Ruto also underscored his commitment to ensure no political assassinations occur, in a quick rejoinder to Azimio leader who claimed mystery surrounding Ogola's death. As Alan Ochanda reports, the fallen general has been hailed as one who, rather, resisted any attempts to mix politics and security matters. Let's take a look.
11 a.m. morning, the casket bearing the remains of the late General Francis Ogolla arrived at the Senator Obama Primary School in Ng'ia for a burial service that brought together leaders from across the political divide, family members and locals. Everyone who took to the podium showering the late general with accolades as a dedicated soldier.
Personally, I have lost a brother. I have lost a colleague. I have lost a member of the Defense Council. I have lost a general who has put the security, the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our country.
That the accolades that we have received as they convey condolences from all over the world is testimony to the integrity and professionalism of our defense forces.
His death sparked speculation and questions on how a man whose security is only second to the president's died in the said circumstances. His son Joel Rabuku calling out those he says are spinning unfounded claims of bad blood between his father and the president emanating from the 2022 presidential polls. Opposition leaders, however, insisting investigations must be conducted to establish what happened.
Na watu wache kusema hizo maneno zao ati he did this. These guys were friends in State House. Nyinyi hamjai kwenda huko. Mimi mzendo alikuwa ananiambia anapenda president sana. They are good friends. So your maneno from today, unless you're quoting me, mwachane nayo.
I want to ask our uncle, the general's son, not to be impatient with us. It is not because of anything. It is just because once beaten, twice shy. So we are asking for no stones to be left unturned, and let us know the truth of who killed our uncle, General Ogolla.
We have mourned many times, and that's why sometimes people mistake us. We have mourned many times, and we have mourned heroes. We mourned Arguing Skodek, we mourned Tom Mboya, we mourned Dr. Uko, we mourned Odhiambo Mbai, and today we are mourning General Ogolla.
There shall never be again extrajudicial killings or political assassinations. There shall never be another occasion where we have bodies of Kenyans in River Yala. It will never happen again. Not under my watch.
Ogola, besides serving the country at the apex of the military leadership, has maintained visible footprints in his home village, where he built a church, classes, and empowerment for different groups. Despite his influence, he maintained a low profile and resisted any overtures to mix politics and security matters.
Yes, but
Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen has already set up an aircraft accident investigation team, leaders calling for transparency in the process.
A team has been constituted to look into the circumstances under which General Ogolla fell. What Kenyans want, Mr. President, is simply to make it public, because then that will allay all these fears. And the matter of General Ogolla goes beyond our sister Eileen and our beautiful kids. It's a national thing, for the truth must come out. So I just want to ask my sister to come, and as she comes, I want to say, rest well, a man of great faith. Anybody who can read the Bible twice in a year can only be a committed Christian. And this brother here had a secret with his maker. Alikuwa na siri naye Mwokozi Yesu.
When an accident occurs, it's a security issue. There are security concerns which deserve an answer for the nation.
I have full confidence that General Omenda and the team he has appointed to make sure that all details are laid bare on the accident that took away the life of General Ogolla.
For a man who spent 4 decades defending the country against external aggression, his personality crystallizing in death, many eulogizing him as a devoted soldier. But the common denominator from all the mourners is humility. Adios Francis Omondi Ogolla. Alan Chanda, KTN News in Siaya.
Came out, and of course different leaders weighing in on the investigation, of course starting with President William Ruto, saying there shall not be again another event of assassination. Different people having different interpretations of this, but of course encouraging my panelists that we will be as sensitive as we possibly can, because it's still a dark time for the family and the nation. But let me appreciate Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament, Mara North, who has joined us this morning as well. What would be your opening remarks to this point in time, especially after the 3 days official mourning of the late General into still a dark hour today?
Thank you, Doris. It's good to see you here. The last time I checked, you were in K24. It's very good to be with you here. One is extremely sad.
In media, they change places like the way people change political parties in Kenya.
We shall come back to you. We are not politicians. Yes.
One, I say it is, yesterday was a very Sunday, and it is still a very dark moment for the Republic of Kenya, and more so for the defense forces of the Republic. I personally attended the burial, and the entire village, the entire Siaya, the mourning, and we are as well mourning as a government. President William Ruto is extremely affected by this crash. We lost so many soldiers, senior soldiers, and people who have worked very hard to keep this nation secure. I think it is very sad to hear senior politicians from our country trying to come up with conspiracy theories. It's very sad indeed. And if I was in a position of President William Ruto, I would arrest some of these politicians because
for their remarks.
Because of trying to come up with theories which don't hold any water. But because I know President is a man who follows the rule of law, is going to ensure everything, no stone which will not be turned, so that we can get the bottom of what exactly happened. Kenya military is one of the most disciplined forces we have, not only in Africa but in the world. And this has been the case for many years. So the team set by the president to investigate on exactly what happened, I'm sure they will come up with a proper report. And just like the president said yesterday, we are very lucky to have a government for the second time, a government which look at the rule of law. In the previous administration, we have seen bodies being discovered or getting bodies from Riviera and many other rivers, people disappearing because of extrajudicial killing. And that is what the president said. Under his leadership, we will not see such kind of instances in the Republic of Kenya again.
So for clarity, the president was speaking on the past histories of extrajudicial killings, and this had nothing to do with the late General Francis Ogola. For clarity.
It has nothing to do with General Ogola. What the readers there say, they say they fear because in the past, they mentioned in the past, there was killing of Minister Ruto. In the past, there was killing of who else? Tomboya, several others, senior politicians from the Ruo Nyanza, and that to him was extrajudicial killings, and he saying never again it will happen in any corner of the republic.
Okay.
So long as he is the head of state, and I know my brother, Dr. Ekuru, he will be very. You want to refute that, but I want to tell him Kenya has changed. And we are lucky to have a president. We are lucky to have a second president in the Republic of Kenya after Mwai Kibaki, who is committed, one, in transforming the way things are done as far as law is concerned, and also transforming this economy.
You know, I just wanted to say one thing. You know, Rocco, you as a legislator, maybe by extension, you can claim to know a little bit about law, even though you legislate. I think we say in law that context is everything. So when the president uses such words as "there shall never be any assassination again" in the context of the burial of Ogola, I think let's just admit, probably it was the wrong use of phraseology and words. But let's not try to excuse and say that, he meant the past. I mean, even in this regime, people have died, and we still have, we don't have explanation on that. I think this is not the time for casting aspersions or blame games, but I'm concerned about the statement you made earlier that if you are the president, you will cause people to be arrested because of the things they have said.
That's why I'm not the president.
That's why. But
what I'm trying to say is that we have a very committed president to the rule of law.
It's okay.
Some of us, including Dr. Okuru, if he was in the position of being the president, probably would have quite a number of people arrested.
Can I finish my point? Yes, it's your wish, and I'm sure probably you are advising the president directly to arrest Orengo, Buru Odinga, and everybody else who is suspicious about the death of Ogola. But be that as it may, but it's also insensitive of the same president that you are defending, that he can now say that Ogola in a way confessed to him that he did what he did in Bomas. And and I think that's very insensitive. Let's not go to that route, because it's also not right for the president to accuse a dead person, because we all know that dead people can never defend themselves.
But Dr. Ekuru Aukot, Ogola's son, spoke to this matter, said they had a very cordial relationship with the president. He cleared the air thus far. And I know you might be drawing back to the media televised, question and answer moment to the president back then, where he clarified why he, settled on the late now CDF Ogola.
Doris, I understand that, but I'm just reacting to the statement by my friend Rocco here. When he says that the president ought to arrest some people who make certain statements. Because then who will arrest the president when the president say Ogola sort of confessed to him? This is all in the video. Wait, Rocco, I think, listen, I know you're sycophantically defending the president and UDA, but let's be rational about some of these things. And in my view, honestly, I think I'll just say, let's be calm. The president has proposed. There's going to be a probe. I mean, I know there are many questions, and I like the fact that the president has said it will settle many of the doubts. And I think that's how we should proceed forward. Maybe going forward, let's all not bring back, I will do this, I will do that, because it will now force people to also begin to dig out some of the things that have been said and some of the allegations. I don't think we should really politicize the death of General Ogolla and all the other soldiers. For all intents and purposes, it's a chopper crash. It's an accident. But we also now want to know how this chopper has it been serviced, because this is the second most defended person in the existence of Kenya. This is a person in charge of our security and the safety of this nation, actually second to the president. So those questions also need to come out. How old is that equipment? How often is it serviced? And I'm hoping that these are some of the questions that will come. But let's leave aspersions on the side for now, at least.
All right. I'll come back to the rest of the panelists, but allow me to also appreciate in the panel Honorable Jamatia Sergon, who is a woman representative by Ringo. And here we're talking about security. In fact, the co-principal, Azimio Martha Karua, said when an accident happens, it is a security issue. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What would be opening remarks?
My opening remarks is, first of all, I still want to pass my condolences to the family of Ogola and all the officers that died in the crash, and wish quick recovery to the ones who are still in the hospital. At the end of the day, we have lost a very sensitive person and a very important person in the country, of the CDF. As we all know, it is the first time ever in the history of Kenya to lose such a person. And it gives a lot of indication of, the things we do carelessly sometimes. And as much as we have all this shrouded and known fear that there would be probably, there was assassinations and all those kind of things, I think we must be retrospect a bit and understand circumstance as to how all this crash came into being. We all know that, everyone in Kenya nowadays uses these choppers.
Everyone.
Almost everyone nowadays.
Except me.
No. A quote actually uses more. And everyone means the people in the echelons of power. Many times accesses these. Maybe what we need to do more is to understand how these choppers are operating and to where. For instance, you know, when you talk about the military, no one knows how the military fully operates. I can easily go to Wilson Airport and ask whether these choppers are maintained and all those kind of things. We have committees in Parliament that can easily question, you know, question probably committees of public transport who can easily question the usage of choppers. But I don't think it is easy for us, even as members of Parliament, to easily question the operations of the military. That gives us another window to look at. I'm a member of Parliament and sitting in the right seat of government. But when such a thing happens, I think we need to be objective enough to understand that lives is really lost, and it is good for us to look at it objectively.
All right.
I was listening to the witness, the person who gave us the first-hand information that he saw the crash, the chopper crashing.
Yes.
And one of the things that he indicated so much is that the propeller was not moving. So that is where we should start.
All right. Allow me to take a very short breather. I want to come back, and I appreciate what you said, Honorable Sir Gon, that we must remain objective, because that's the only way we'll get to see even clearer. And I hope you're watching back at home as well. Send in your feedback on what